like at the beginning of last year.
Oh, we're live. What's
we
going
good?
on, everyone in the OWL community?
What's going on?
Another awesome episode of the OWL Podcast, powered by good old Celsius Beverage. Now that we're doing it at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I have officially cracked the can because I need some extra energy during today's podcast.
I had one last night.
So it's probably still kicked in.
Yeah, I know.
Right? Mine goes 24 hours when I drink one.
When I know I need to get some work done, I grab a Celsius.
Okay, so let's get right into our guests.
Yeah.
Tell everyone who you are and what are you doing down here in South Florida?
What's going on, everybody? My name is Brennan Boyd. I'm a digital media entrepreneur. I'm in South Florida to connect with these amazing people, shooting a podcast. I have a podcast of my own, so I'm shooting a podcast, connecting with some clients. I got them on a couple of shows. I'm going to be doing some collabs and going on some podcasts myself. And just sharing a message about the importance of getting your word out there, how you help people, your message out there, making an impact, and then growing your brands.
It's hard when you visit South Florida because it's such beautiful weather. You want to get dragged to lunch, dinner, the beach. How do you do it? You get down here, is it all work mode, or do you kind of build in some time for vacation mode as well?
I live in LA, bro. So
yeah,
I'm
Not
good.
So
I'm good with the weather, but I do enjoy walking around, meeting people, connecting. It's definitely a different vibe over here in South Florida for sure. So
it's a better vibe.
I'm not.
Don't tell anyone.
Ellie's been on both sides, so she knows.
Don't tell them. I don't want them coming here.
How long have you lived in LA for?
Going on 6 years. It'll be 6 years in June.
And when are you moving to Florida?
June 1st.
Oh, look at this.
Yeah.
I
was just telling her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You got to put a date on it.
Yeah. Or else it'll never happen. Wait. Okay. So obviously we know you are a podcaster, and we can just tell by your professionalism, your comfortability here. I feel like right off the bat, even your Celsius little ad right there, you got the swag, you got the voice, you got it.
Thanks.
But I want to hear also about the other side, the client side. Well, one, tell me how you help these clients. And then two, like, where does the money come from? Is it the podcasting? Is it the clients?
Yeah.
So.
First, I think I got to take off these glasses.
Oh, things are getting serious. Things are getting serious here.
He's showing his face.
I take the glasses off for that. So I would say all of the above. I think one of the most important things that people need to understand is podcasting is really an amazing marketing tool first.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be used for several things. It really depends on the intention. And I feel like a lot of people, they'll just start a show, which is fine, with no direction, no goal. And that's still cool. Like, you could do that because that can help you discover what you want to do. And I think that's how it worked for me. Like originally, what got me into the space is I wanted to meet more people that were successful. I didn't know any at the time. It's 2018. I didn't know any multimillionaires. I didn't know no founders. I didn't know any creators. I didn't know anyone that really got busy that did things other than like working in corporate. Because like all my friendships and all my relationships were just people in corporate that were making like corporate six figures, which is fine. But no one else thought differently. So I was like, well, man, how can I meet these people? How can I create some value so, I can ingratiate myself with like other people? So my idea was just to do interviews on YouTube. And it wasn't even a podcast. It was just me interviewing people, but I always like content. So it was like, I'm gonna film it.
Yes. And who are these people?
So yeah, at the time I was a residential real estate agent. So I was meeting like people that owned mortgage companies, brokers, bankers, financiers, just people in that space that I looked up to. And then there was this guy. I didn't get a chance to interview him, but when I asked him and he said yes, I like my mind switched. We just couldn't get the schedule together. There's this dude that used to always go to the same barbershop. He used to pull up in a Rolls Royce. He only had one arm. And I used to always, I'm like, man, like, how are you so successful? And he said he got successful because he traded coins. Like he actually sold, what's that, foreign exchange?
Yeah.
So he was doing foreign exchange. And he was an older guy.
Okay.
And I was like, man, so I was like, man, would you mind if I connect with you? He was like, yes, but we just never was able to do it. But once he said yes, a light bulb went off. I was like, well, he said yes pretty easy. So I'm gonna just ask a bunch of other people. And then they just started saying yes. And that's kind of like what started the momentum and the ball rolling. Now,
isn't that just interesting? You just ask. Everyone always asks me the secret. Like, how did you get to over 300 shows? How did you
100%.
get this person join OWL? And I just say I was in a room and I walked over to them and I introduced myself and asked. And Ellie over here, same thing. How many people have you met in person that you just asked to do something with and they've said yes, right?
Like all the time.
Isn't it crazy? Everyone
Yeah.
wants to know the secret. Hello, ask, right?
The secret is just attempts. Now, this is the thing. You can't just assume that people are going to say yes the first time.
Yeah,
Because,
no.
it might be scheduled. They may not know who you are because no like trust is still real. They got to
Yeah.
see if you're real. Do you really have a show? You might not have a show. You might be someone that makes, once a month or once every. I might not waste my time for that. Right. So I need to do a little bit of background. But you just got to ask because I might connect with you today, be like, yes, let's get it done. That might not happen for like 8 months.
Mhm.
But the intention's still there. So we're going to make it happen. We make it happen. So that's kind of what started it. And then I just got some verticals going from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so that's what started it. So you were doing these interviews, then you decided to do these podcasts.
Yeah.
And then you were saying that the podcasting is more of a marketing tool first
Mm-hmm.
to probably then market to whatever business you have that is the moneymaker, essentially, right?
Yeah.
Or
In a sense, I would say this: if you are someone that is successful in general, I feel like you need to have a media department, in my opinion. And you may not have to start a podcast, but you need to have some type of functionality in your business that's attached to media. So it might be you going on some shows. But if you have a pod, even if you do it virtual, you'll still be able to connect and build so many business relationships, right? So if you're not in podcasting, but you just have a business or you're an entrepreneur, I would start a show. Now, if you are a podcaster and you think that, you know what, I want to monetize my show, I guess I need to grow my show, or I need some sponsors or brand deals, or I need to get this Google AdSense. That's not how you make money. I mean, you can make money that way, but it's going to take a little longer,
yeah.
or that's I look at it more as like of a bonus.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? What the best way to make money faster in podcasting, in my opinion, is affiliate marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a ton of affiliate marketing marketplaces where you could just register and you just have like, now you just got a treasure trove of all these different companies that you could market, right, and get paid 20%, 30%. I just did a video on Rakuten. You guys familiar with Rakuten? So
A little bit.
So I didn't know what
Not much,
Rakuten
not
was.
much.
I just know there was a logo on Golden State Warriors jersey. I'm like, what is this company, right?
Yeah.
Like, if they made it there's something to it.
Something to it, right? So basically, what Rakuten does is, if you go to Rakuten and you upload the Chrome extension, it goes on your browser, let's say Chrome or whatever, right? Anything that you purchase from now on, Rakuten has some type of relationship with them. They got over 3,500 relationships with commerce businesses.
Mm.
So something's going to pop up. It's going to say $10 back, 10%,
Right,
20%,
right.
whatever, right? So you might just buy anything that you would normally buy. Rakuten will tell you, hey, you're going to get some money back,
Mhm.
right? So you can do that, get money back. And then if you get into their referral program, you get $30 back every time somebody signs up, right? Uses it, right? So if I'm a podcaster, well, number one, all this equipment I need, or maybe I got a friend that spends a lot of money. Hey, boom, you're gonna get this money back. But then I can create a commercial. Say, what's up, guys? Welcome to the XYZ podcast. Today's episode, I want to talk to you guys all about Rakuten. It's an amazing site. You can go there, save money. Everyone likes to spend money, right? Well, why don't you get some money back?
Yeah.
Yesterday, I spent $100 on some Nikes. I got $10 back.
Yeah.
Right? So boom, you put a commercial in your episode. Now listen, we got Jason, we got Ellie. We're gonna be talking about what's going on. Boom, right? You make your own commercials, put them in there, start stacking your affiliates.
Mhm.
Right? Another thing is wherever anyone lives, you have these relationships. It might be credit union, bank, coffee shop, movie theater, let's say grocery store. You know the people that own it, the management that works there. You can get a little partnership agreement, a sponsorship with them. They might throw you $1,000, $500. Now you building in your community. You can do a mobile podcast over there. They'll be happy because they're not doing any marketing.
Right. Yep.
So that's another way. Then there's just so many ways that you can take advantage of right now. Get your podcast to anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 a month using some non-traditional strategies. I mean, we just talked about two real quick.
Mhm.
That can get you rolling, right?
Okay, so I'm going to start going after some hardball questions because
Let's
I'm a
go.
podcaster and
Yeah.
there's so many people out there that get frustrated with their podcast. And I really want to dive deep into this subject because everything you're talking about is absolutely amazing. And there's stuff that I'm going to learn from you today. And I have a feeling you're going to learn from myself as well.
Let's go.
So right off the bat, I'm going to throw a hardball question because
Yeah.
often, people say the podcasting world is saturated. Like,
Mhm.
and sometimes people ask me and I'm like, I don't know, you should start a show, right? Because
Yeah.
a lot of times I could tell they don't have an underlying business backing it up. So I get concerned, like, hey, you're going to start this, you're going to get addicted to it.
Invest into all this
And
technology.
there's very few people that come out the other side like you who actually turn it into a business. Often we see people get to like 300, 400 episodes and they turn around and be like, holy crap, I made no money, on the show. I wasted so much time on social media posts. My social feeds have 1,000, 2,000 followers. There's not much there. Their viewership is really low. They get like 10 downloads an episode. And I'm like, when it comes to me, I'm like, well, you started it out incorrectly. You should have had a business. Like if you're a real estate agent, should have led to opportunities. Should have led to opportunities to your main core business. For me, I was a financial advisor. So when I started my show in 2018, it was simple. Meet wealthy people through a show and build opportunities, plant a lot of seeds. And one day, those people would turn back to me as a resource in the financial service industry.
You know what I call that? I call that a pod close.
Yeah.
So pod close, you basically build that know, like, trust over 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever. Plant a seed, right? Give an opportunity. Hey, listen, I learned so much about you and what you got going on. Here's how I can add more value. Here's how my team and I can help you.
Yeah.
And then you close a high ticket deal.
Do that all the time. Thing. Financial service professionals, real estate agents, CPAs, lawyers, all very high ticket sales. So they could run through 50 episodes a year, close one deal, and it's enough for all the expenses for the year. And then lots of time it's recurring revenue in the future as well. So then when people come to you, kind of how do you advise them, right? Because right off the bat, you could see their profession.
Yeah.
And right now you're like, oh no, they shouldn't do it. They're gonna fall into the trap of the unsuccessful podcasters, the ones that get the 9 episodes quit, or even 50 to 100 episodes. And you're like, oh my God, they still aren't making money. Obviously you're going to teach them.
Yeah.
But you see a lot of people making these basic mistakes. So kind of how do you advise in those early meetings, for example?
100%. So I would definitely see what the intention is. Like, why do you want to do the show? I don't believe that podcasting is saturated at all because, as you identified, there's a high percentage of people that just quit.
Yeah.
So if you just consistently make a show, you're already in the like 60-70% of people that are more successful with podcasting, right? So I would first say, hey, what's the intention? Is the intention just to have conversations, right? Do you have a business, like Jason mentioned? Because if you do, we can leverage this tool. Now, if you don't, it's fine, but still, what's the end goal? Do you want the podcast to grow your social? Do you want to use it to leverage and build new relationships? Do you want to actually have this thing monetized? Once we have some type of identification on what the goal is, then we can start advising them on which way to go.
Okay. Right? And you advise, online podcasts, in-person podcasts, hybrid, kind of what's your theory behind those?
I always suggest to start with a virtual or a hybrid model because it saves you the most money up front.
Yeah.
If you do virtual, literally all you need, right? You need either StreamYard, right? I like Riverside for virtual. So you can do StreamYard, Riverside. You can even do Zoom, right? I don't think Zoom's the best podcast for best platform for podcasting, but you could use
free.
It's free, right?
Yeah.
Right. So you could do those. Then all you need to do is invite someone like these amazing people to come on the show and just have a conversation. If you want to level up with a small investment, you can get a USB mic, a USB light, and a USB camera. And then the quality would just be that much better. You could start there. That would be under $300. Or if you go to Amazon, you can probably find all of those things for probably under $200, even $100.
I like that because you could just get comfortable.
Yeah, you get comfortable.
Used to asking different questions.
100%.
I find a lot of people are good speakers, but then when it's light camera action and all of a sudden you got to ask real questions, they freeze a lot, right?
No,
if I look back at my history, and these episodes are all public, go to my first 10 episodes, you're like, oh my God, like that's the same individual.
Yeah.
Like I was freezing on the mic, especially when it was like a recorded video. Back in 2018, as you recall, like most podcasts were audio only.
Yeah.
And we weren't used to being on Zoom all the time. Now everyone's kind of a lot more comfortable because we've been forced to Zoom.
Yep.
And we're forced to like hitting the record button on Zoom. But there was something when, 2018, at least in my situation, is like when I saw that red dot come on Zoom.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden, like I wasn't myself.
Froze up.
Yeah.
So the red dot went crazy.
So I think it's important, like don't overcommit and spend $10,000 on equipment, which you see a lot of people do. Start with something basic, and the quality's still there with something basic.
Yeah, you could level. You could.
iPhones are amazing.
Level up. Yeah, you could use your iPhone. I mean, there's an iPhone recording right now, like technically, right? So that's what I would do. I'll just start. See if you enjoy it. See if you can keep up the consistency, the work. You know what I mean? Like
start, but know why you're starting.
100%.
That's the biggest thing.
Have some intention behind it, and then it's work. Podcasting is not like it's still work.
Okay, so let's talk about the trick to getting guests, because often most podcasts fail because it becomes work because you can't get guests, right? You start out and you start texting people, they don't respond. You start DMing people, they don't respond. And it's hard when you're new because you don't have like a website backing up your past episodes. Once you get going, like it's shooting fish in a barrel, right?
Yeah.
Because you just take somebody that you had on, that's famous, or a huge entrepreneur like we had as Celsius CEO on. Right. It's not hard for me to send somebody a message like, hey, we recently had the Celsius CEO on. Would you like to join us? And from there on, they're like, well, they were on. I want to be on.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
But what is the trick early on, like those first 20 episodes or so, really getting guests?
Well, there's a couple of different things. I think number one, you have to put out a lot of attempts, right? So you got to ask a lot of people. You can do that by DM. You can do it by text. You can do it by email. You can even create content. Say, hey, listen, I got a brand new podcast looking for guests. If you're interested or know somebody, tag them below. That definitely works. One of the things that I do is I might go, let's say I go to your page. I don't know you. I might go to your page. I'll comment on a couple of pictures and I'll leave a comment that says DM with a mic emoji and a fireball.
Okay.
Most people respond to that because they're like, the mic represents some type of communication, speaking, or podcast. They're going to respond to that.
Okay.
So I would do that. I would also create content, right? I would create some content that shows you and the value that you bring. Because if you have any of those clips that go crazy, it's easy to send that clip to somebody that you want to interview and say, hey, listen, I got a podcast. Here's a clip. I would like to have you come on. That works too. Another thing you could do is you can have a VA, right? And you can make a list. I say make a list of 100 potential guests.
Sure.
You can have the VA reach out on your behalf. So then that way you're not spending your time. You have, you hire somebody to do it, reach out to all of them, send them all a message, and you just wait for them to come back. Like Steph Curry, he hit the most 3-pointers in NBA history, right? But he also missed 3 times the amount that he made. So he made over 3,500. He missed over 15,000. But he also shot millions in practice that didn't even count.
I think it's all volume play.
100%.
But my question is,
zillion podcasts, and you just ask.
You can get anyone to come on, right?
Yeah, you can get.
But
anyone.
the difference is like anyone versus like the high quality people. What is your I don't know if you have any tips for that specifically, but
yeah, I mean, what is the thing?
Or the people with the
you can get anyone to come on.
Yeah.
Right. This is the thing, though. There's time that's a factor, and there's also money that's a factor.
Yeah.
So if you want to have, let's say, Grant Cardone come on, he can 100% come on the podcast. There's a couple different ways you can get Grant Cardone on. You can either pay his fee and have him come on, right? You could go to like a 10X event, buy probably one of the highest tickets, meet him there, build a relationship, flow some value, right? There was a podcast that I recently knew he was in LA. They figured out what hotel he was at. I mean, what restaurant he drove there. He met him coming out, and then he told him his story, and he came on. So there's a lot of things you can do that are non-traditional, and there's a lot of things you can do with intention. If I knew that I wanted him on the show, I would probably just pay, either buy one of the biggest packages, be in a room, and then build a relationship. Or another thing you could do is you can go to the person that's next to him. Right. And get the person that's next to him on the podcast, build a relationship with the person that's next to him, and then plant the seed. Say, hey, man, listen, I really enjoy to have you on. Do you think, anyone else, from 10X that might want to come on? Maybe even Grant, what I'm saying? Have him plant the seed like, oh, Grant, I was just on Brennan's podcast. It's crazy. I think something you can consider. You planted that seed. Mm-hmm. So now when Grant hears it later, he'll remember like, oh, I heard this 2 or 3 times before. Yeah, let's make it happen.
Or my trick is find someone bigger than Grant, and then you go downhill.
You can do that too. Right? They all work.
But once you get someone bigger, they're like, wait, he was on there? I want to join too.
Exactly.
Right? But it's hard to get, obviously, a lot bigger people than Grant.
And then you can get more popular as well. Sure. So like you build your value and your perceived value out there on social, and then you can attract the people.
Yes.
Yeah. And how did you, so this is your company, right?
Yeah, this is one of them. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
One of them. So how did you go from corporate to pod agency? Like what was the switch?
You want the truth?
Yeah.
Y'all want the truth? All right, so check it out. I'm in real estate. This is probably, I don't know, 3 years ago. So I had my license in Massachusetts and in California, residential realtor. So a friend of mine, he gave me a personal referral, and I was actually going to get a t-shirt printed. Got a t-shirt printed at the referral, right? So now I happen to have, I have my nice little shirt on, whatever. I'm getting a tee printed. And then the dude's like, yo, you in real estate? I'm like, yeah. He's like, yo, I'm actually looking for a house in the Salton Sea. I'm like, all right. So I had MLS pulled it up. Literally the first house I showed him, he was like, that's the one. That never happened.
Yeah.
He's like, that's the one. I'm like, all right, cool. So I call up, set everything up, and then we went to see the house maybe a couple of days later. Now, mind you, I live in LA. Salton Sea is like 2.5 hours away. It's like
Yeah.
by Coachella. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So long story short, it took 6 months to get that deal done. From like it being, under agreement to a falling apart because of a price gap to like the seller couldn't close on another deal and my buyer wanted it again. Like it took a minute.
Okay.
So I had to drive there back and forth 4 times. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm like, that's a lot of time. And the houses out there, not that much. It's like I think the commission was like 6K. I think the house was like a little under 300,000. Now it's not about the money at all. It's about the time.
Yeah.
Right. So when I realized that, you know what, I spend a lot of time, and there has to
return
be
is
a way
Yeah.
for me to make money faster.
Yeah.
So then I just went. I was like, I'm quitting real estate. So I went all in on personal development. I invested in coaches, mentors. I bought programs, and then I discovered like digital marketing and the ability to sell premium value offers,
Yeah.
communities, digital products, monetizing your mindset, monetizing the information, like your specialty. And then from there it was just game on.
Yeah.
Now a friend of mine was like, well, Brendan, you got a podcast, so I think there's something to this. So I took like 2 weeks and just thought, I think it's really important to just take time to think.
Mhm.
Like take a day off a week, a couple of hours, go somewhere that you enjoy and just think. But it took me like almost a month to put podcasting together with what I was doing prior, like helping people monetize their information. And I was like, Eureka, I got it. So basically, I turned my podcast at the time into, I started monetizing it non-traditionally, but then I started helping podcasters make money.
And were you monetizing it through the things that you mentioned, like the affiliates and stuff?
Yeah.
Or-
So I had a Tesla. I got a Tesla a couple years ago, like 3 years ago. And then my first thing was like, how can I get the podcast to pay for this? Right.
Hmm.
So I started a community. In the community, I was charging $99 a month. So 10 people in the community started paying for the car.
Mhm.
So I was like, oh, it's only 10 people. Other people can do this too. So then I started teaching them how they could build a community around the podcast.
Yeah.
Because there's always, no matter what podcast you got, I mean, you got the owl. Like there's people inside owl right now.
Oh, of course.
It's a community, right?
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah,
always people that
ambassadors.
want to go deeper with you. And it's not for everybody.
No.
So whatever podcast you have, there's a percentage of people that want to go deeper with you. I call it like, I don't really have a name for it, but let's look at
Like super fan. It's like the same thing as having a brand. I feel like
100%.
it's-
I think
yeah.
the best example is like if you go on a plane, there's always people in first class.
Yeah.
And first class has the smallest amount of capacity.
Yeah.
But economy is like what, 3 times, 4 times. You got 100 seats in economy. But there's always someone that wants to pay for convenience, and additional value. So just offer that with your podcast, right? You probably have 5 to 10 people, 5 to 10% of your listeners that want behind the scenes, that want to, maybe ask you a question once a week or once a month, that are down for like meetups. Maybe you're gonna do a live podcast. You can invite the people that are part of the community. There's a lot of different things you can do, and they'll happily pay you $29, $39, $49, $99 a month. You multiply that by what your expenses are. Man, I only need 50 people, and I don't gotta work this job no more. I only need 30 people, and my budget is taken care of.
And
That's how you start looking at
do
it.
more of what you love.
You do more of what you love.
The question is though, how do you obtain those people? Because there's always, maybe fall off or whatever. How do you always have to keep going, right? So how do you obtain that audience?
Call that the chasers,
Yeah.
shiny object syndrome, right? Everyone wants to just go viral, make millions of
Right.
dollars, have a Lamborghini. They jump to your community, they then jump to the next.
And the next community. So yeah, how do you keep those people?
I think the churn rate is going to be about 4 to 6 months, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Churn rate is about 4 to 6 months. I think if it's priced accordingly, most people are not going to cancel. So if it's like $29,
Mhm.
$39, it's probably worth more if I just stay,
Right.
especially if the person's giving me value. So maybe like an easy way to add more value to the community is bringing other people. So let's say I had a community and then once a week I brought in other experts on stuff. I got Jason coming in, let's say next week. So every week I'm giving more value.
Yeah.
Or let's say I have a monthly meetup or quarterly, meetup, or I do a monthly Zoom session with my people and I'm really pouring into them and I'm leveling up and I'm giving them some of the jewels that I'm getting in real time.
Mhm.
That's going to keep people that want to be in it. Like you want to keep it involved,
Yeah.
right? You want to make it exciting. You want to ask some new things and then just ask them, what are they looking for? Because it may not always
Yeah.
be about what you think it should be. It's like,
Yeah.
what do you really want to, what do you want to learn? What would you like to do? Or how can we make this better?
And where do these groups live? Is it its own independent website with a chat forum? Is it a Facebook group? Is it a Slack group? Is it an app?
WhatsApp.
Yeah,
There's
so
so
you can
many.
do Discord.
Okay, Discord.
You could do Discord. You could do Slack.
Yeah.
You could use Circle. You could use School.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? They got WAP. There's a lot of different things. I mean, you can even start. All those are like paid options, except for like Slack.
So do you have one community or is it separate communities for different businesses?
I think it's important for you to have two.
Okay.
I think having a free community,
Yep.
because that means everyone gets something.
Yes.
And then I call it like people will pop up like toast when they're ready.
Yeah, the
and
premium one.
then, yep. And then you have your paid community. So if people aren't ready for the paid community, just put them in a free community.
Sure.
Give both value, and then the free people are going to, they're going to grow into that other community.
Okay, so you have the community on one end, you have your podcast that's monetized on this end, and then you also help podcasters over here. So let's go a little bit more into detail on this end. So the podcasters, do you focus on the beginners, the ones in between that have like 50 to 100 episodes, or folks like me, right? I have over 300 episodes. There's going to be fewer people with 300, 400, 500 episodes these days. Who is your core customer?
So I actually just started back coaching because I wasn't coaching for like 6 months. I was spending time growing Pod Agency, which is a vertical off a podcast, which basically helps, let's say, gentlemen like yourself get in front of more audiences by getting you on podcasts.
Yeah.
And then I started a new business called Pod Shop, which basically helps you take the content that you create, chop it up, and then redistribute it across your social media platform.
Now, do you teach me how to do that, or I just hire you and then you go into my
so with Pod Shop,
Dropbox folder or Google
Yep.
shared folder, and then your editors go in and do all the work?
100%. So with Pod Shop, we'll do short form, we'll do long form, we'll edit
Gotcha.
your podcast depending on what which package you want, and then we'll also redistribute it. So it might be across all your socials plus YouTube. And yes, you can have us do all of that for you. You just
Gotcha.
you just pay that, and that's a subscription situation.
Yep.
And then with Pod Agency, the whole thing with that is helping entrepreneurs that have a solution, right? You are good at what you do. You have a strong message, and all you need to do is get in front of people. It's not for anyone starting a new business.
Yep.
It's not for people that don't value, marketing, that doesn't understand marketing. It's not for people who are like, I want to try this. No, this is for people that have a successful
Established.
business, that are established, right? You might be making, 30, 40, 50,000 a month or whatever case may be. And all you need to do is be turned up. You need more people to learn about who you are and how they can connect with you.
I love the
Yeah.
pod shop idea because I feel like we were talking about this earlier, but we struggle with this where like we make content for our guests. Like we have packages, we have free content for everyone. And like then people just forget and they never repost it. And it's like a lot of the point of coming on a podcast in the first place is to get content. But that
100%.
problem is like, but then what do you do with that content? How do you get it out to the right people? So I feel like that's super important, even just getting on a schedule to actually regularly post it. So
Yeah, no, 100%. I think, again, it goes back to intention.
yeah.
Some people just want to go on a podcast because podcast is like the thing now.
Mhm.
So yeah, I want to go on a show, but they have no intention. If you're someone that doesn't know how to create content, or maybe you're shy and you feel like you're awkward on camera, if you just go on a bunch of podcasts, you'll make a bunch of natural, organic content. Of you having a conversation, talking about what you do, maybe talking about your backstory. Maybe there's a topic that might be pressing. You kind of going to that, and then you have all this content that all you need to do is chop up and redistribute it, and it's you being you. You don't have to like be on. Some camera
like,
goes on. You
camera
like
on.
you got
Hello, and put on your camera
exactly,
voice.
put on your
Yeah.
camera voice and all that. You don't have to do none of that. So it's just really about the intention. Like, what is the intention? And when you have an intention, you get the content. There's so much you can do, right? I like segments, right? So let's say this podcast, how long is it normally? Like 40 minutes, an hour?
Yeah, about 45 minutes usually.
All right, cool. So 45 minutes. What do we have here? Okay, we got one 45-minute video and one 45-minute audio. That's full, right? Now, let's say we talked about a bunch of different topics, right? You could take those and chop those up into 4 or 5 segment videos. Now you got short form, long form videos that you can also put on YouTube, right? You got a 5-minute video, 10-minute video, 7-minute video, right? So now you have the one long form podcast, right? And then let's say you have 4 more like short, long term. right? Because some people may not want to digest a 45-minute video.
Absolutely.
They might want to just watch the 5 to 7 minutes,
Yeah.
right? And then after I watch a couple of those, I'll be like, okay, let me check out the full episode. So that's already 5 pieces of content. Then we're going to turn that into like 10 to 20 clips, right? So now that's what, you got 15 to 25 pieces of content just from the one podcast. Now we're going to take that and redistribute that across all your channels. Now you start to be more omnipresent. All these people out here that are like, I want a YouTube channel, or I don't understand why I should have a YouTube channel. Now that's another opportunity for your customers to spend time with you without them having to spend time with you.
Yep.
You have all this content now you can put on YouTube now, right? Now your brand is on YouTube. You have a channel, and your email marketing, your text message marketing, or just in casual conversation. Oh, you know what? We talked about that. Let me send you the link. Now you have your channel working for you. Now the content is working to bring them back your way, right? If you have commercials, all that long form content, you can put your own commercials in it. If you got branded end screens, you can put branded end screens in it. If you doing affiliate marketing, you can put affiliate commercials in it. Now all those episodes, all this content you're making is now bringing revenue back to you, and it's creating these relationships for potential clients for you to do business with.
And can we talk about going on the right podcast for a moment? Because
Yeah.
so often,
Is this the right podcast?
you'll get so many email requests to go. I get a lot, right? Just in the financial service business, running OWL app, running 2 different podcasts. I get all these emails, and I instantly, of course, check them out really quickly. I go in there for a minute and I make a decision, yes or no. And I see a huge difference, right? I know if I went on your show, I'm getting a crap load of content. There's so much value there.
Yeah.
And like Darren's, who I went on his show, amazing. I got a Dropbox folder, and it had so much content. I'm using that content on my feed right now. And those are the shows I want to be on.
100%.
Versus the typical show, I would say 9 times out of 10, it's online. I do an hour show.
You don't even get the video back.
And then there's like one post, and that's it.
Or you might not get the post.
And sometimes I don't. I'm like, whatever happened to that? I didn't get like a link to the, Apple Podcast. I didn't get on their website. I didn't see any like short form video. And I'm like, that was really just a waste of 1 hour of my time.
100%.
They got to meet me. I got to meet them. But that was not my intention of just doing an hour meeting, because my time is so sensitive.
100%.
And I love going on podcasts where I could just sit back and relax. And that's what our shows are about.
Yeah.
Like Shrimp Tank, the OWL Podcast, both of our shows, it's just like people are up on their website, so they get a great backlink to their website. Then, there's obviously their bio up on it lives somewhere. So their bio's up there in the cloud. Then the social post before the show, after the show,
Which
folder,
I like, by the way. I really like
so
that.
the folder has so much content, and we're like really in the beginning stages, because we have 300 plus folders. So we could do everything that you're speaking about.
Yep.
And TikTok's starting to allow you to do 10-minute videos. So we're testing that as we speak. And like, you think about it as like, we could always go back, right? Because the issue is always like, how much time in a day do you want to spend? Because I'm in the high ticket sales business, or now I'm, attracting people to OWL. So I'm not like overly concerned about putting too much content out.
Yeah.
Because one day I could go back and do what like Alex Hermosi has done.
Yeah.
And just go balls to the wall, like 100 pieces of content out a day. All of our past guests, like your episode today, like we go crazy with it, right? But we really have to be intentional with our time, like going on the right show. So how do you find the right shows?
I think it's important to find the right shows by doing several different things, right? So there's a lot of different sites out there, right?
Yeah.
There's Podmatch, Podchaser, right? There's Guestio.
Yeah.
You can use YouTube and search your topic, XYZ podcast, right? You can do the same thing. Spotify has a trick where you can just go, you go from music to podcast, and in the search, you put in what topic you want. So that's probably number one. And I would just make a list, right? And then I wouldn't be lazy. Like Jason said, I would actually check out an episode, see what the podcast look like. And then I have this strategy called the 52W, where it's like you go on one podcast a week for 52 weeks. Now you're on 52 different platforms. You only spend 30 to 60 minutes every time per week. And now you have all these different platforms that get to know who you are. So I would make a list of 100 shows that are in your category. Mm-hmm. And then whether it's you or whether you hire someone on your team or a VA, have them start reaching out to podcasts that make sense. And instead of just sending an email, create a one sheet. And on that one sheet, you should have picture, right? You have your bio, you have your talking points. These are the 3 to 5 things I'm really good at. These are the 3 to 5 things that I do outside of my business.
That's smart. I don't do that. I just have bio headshot photos, but I don't do that. That's actually really clever.
Here's a link to my free item that you can check out.
No one has time anymore. So it's like the episode's coming up, they jump right. But if there's those questions, immediately like that's great for the host.
And another thing I do is I think everyone should do this. Make an intro video and then make it clickable right on the one sheet.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on? This is Brendan. Listen, I am great in these areas. I'm excited to come on your podcast. When I come on there, I'm going to light it up. This is the energy you're going to get. So I'm excited. Make sure you click the link below and schedule a time for me to come on.
Okay, so tell us the best one you've been on, or a couple of them. Like, what are the best things that you've seen people do that really surprised you?
What, to get my attention?
Just like you've been on so many shows.
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
like obviously you've seen so much, so like one of the tricks is obviously going on a lot of shows and then taking it back down to your show.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And I've
sure.
done that.
Yeah.
It's the best way to learn. Just be in the real world and be on other shows. So what have you seen?
I think one of the best shows I went on production wise, like one recently and then one a couple years ago. So the Win has a production studio in there, right?
That thing's like millions of dollars.
You know what I'm saying? So I went.
That one's hard to compare.
So I was in there, and you know it's basically like a big studio, so you can rent it out. You can have your show in there. So I went on there, and that was really, really fire. Like as soon as I went in there, like you're like
different. It's
it's
like
like the news.
Like, yeah.
Fox or CNN. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was
different.
really crazy, and it's in the casino, so you got that whole vibe going on, right? So that was
love
really
that.
dope. Yeah,
Casino.
that was really, really dope. And then recently, I was in Dallas, and it was a production studio that used to be owned by Vince McMahon, and then one of my clients, he was able to acquire it, and then we did a podcast there. And it's kind of like the Win vibe, where it's like it's big. They got these heavy cameras that are on the cranes and everything that kind of move where you move. The whole background, the LED screen, like that was really, really fire. And it's like the background's back here, and then the chairs are up here. But when you look at it through the camera, it looks like you're like right there, and you can put anything on the screen. So that was really, really dope.
So
as
it's just
well.
the vibe, the
it's
entire setting, because you'll never forget
Yeah.
that setting is what you're saying. Like
100%.
And one of the people in the OWL community always says is like people never forget the way you made them feel.
No,
Right.
yes.
So this isn't all like the touches on email, the posts. It's just like that feeling of being in the Win, setting is just like you can't just make that shit up. Right. It's just
Not
amazing.
at all.
Yep.
And if I could scroll it down, because I'll just use two big examples. I went on a show in Fort Lauderdale last year, and it was at someone's apartment. And this one I got an idea too. This is an offer that I'm gonna have probably in a couple of months. But he has an apartment. He had an apartment, and he turned the apartment into a studio.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole living room was done nice. The kitchen area was done nice. You know what I'm saying? The whole thing you're like, I'm in somebody's apartment.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, man, this was real. I felt really comfortable having a conversation, and I'm chilling, right? I'm like, man, if he had like an assistant that was coming through with like some snacks or something, that would just really put the icing on it. Cause I could see that. Like if you just hired somebody, like some people to come through during the podcast just to like bring in that extra level of customer service.
As we expand OWL.
Yeah.
Food delivery during show.
Yeah.
Foot massage during show.
Or
you want foot massage too?
Or you guys could like, what if you just had somebody in like an owl mascot situation?
I like this.
You know what I'm saying? And like they came in and like you meet the owl, and the owl comes through. Hey, you good? Whatever.
Call him Owly.
Yeah. Take a picture with the owl. Make some content with the owl.
We do want a mascot one day because that would totally work for sure.
That would definitely work. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not wearing it.
We get
can hire
get a big
someone.
raise one day.
That'll definitely work for sure. But it's like those little small touches and nuances that make somebody feel good. And then the other thing is like think about all the things you can do while you're on set. You know what I mean? Like I have this asset list, and it's a list of like over 16 things that you can do when you're in the space, right? Like obviously getting content, going podcast is one thing, but there's just so many things you can get so you can maximize your opportunity. You might not get all 16, you might get 3.
So give us a couple of those things.
Well, number one, you need to take a picture with the host.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Most people ain't doing that. Take a picture with the host. I would also edify the host in the video. Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Brendan. I did this crazy podcast today in Boca with these amazing people. We'll do that, right?
Yeah.
So I would do that, right? Because now you can put that story out. Ask the host to do one for you and your business. So now you got that content that you can use, right? Get some behind the scenes video, because if you guys know anything about social media, word on screen content really does really well. So get you and the host on the podcast, get like a little pan video. So now you have that for like words on screen later, right? If you have a podcast service, make a commercial on the set. Now you got new creative that you can run later.
Theme song.
Yeah, you could do that.
Musician, that's what I'm thinking.
Well, yeah, 100% for you, right?
Theme song.
There's just so many things you could do.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things also, we talked about affiliates. So, and you talked about earlier, most podcasts are doing how to monetize.
Yep.
So if you are a guest and you have, let's say, a digital product, or let's say you have a referral or affiliate program, make the podcast host an affiliate partner. Show them how they can make money with you without having to do anything, and then have a commercial prepared for them, and they could put that not only in your episode but future episodes.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, Jason, look, if anyone buys, you're gonna get $250. Why don't you just run this in all your episodes? Now this is gonna give him more of an opportunity to make money without him having to do anything. The episode is getting edited anyway. So if you just throw this in there, throw this little 30 seconds in there at like a mid-roll ad. He's just gonna have these random 250s coming in. He's gonna forget about it. He's probably not gonna check the account. One day he's gonna open it like, what's this $3,000 sitting in there? Like, there's so many things you can do. So it's all about really having.
I'm just exploding with ideas as you're speaking, by the way. Like the different things that we could do is like we could drive you to Celsius and take they have a whole picture stand right in front of their HQ in Boca. It's 5 minutes down the road. I could be like, hey, after this, we're gonna go take a picture over there.
Yeah, you can make it a whole experience, and if you do a VIP package, like you have some packages that could be part of the higher level tier.
I like that. That's a very good idea. I'll share some of my knowledge, what I've done in the past. So it starts with like the second someone walks in the door. Yeah. Right. It starts with like we do a drink menu. Right. So they get a menu. We have a coffee maker out front. Everyone can buy a coffee maker for $100, $1,000. Do espressos. We do espressos. We name the drinks, and then also we even have energy drinks like Celsius, for example, or water or diet soda. So right at the bat, like, oh, this is cool. No one's giving me a drink menu right when I entered. And of course, there's some people that give chocolates, because chocolate puts people in a better mood. Yeah. They tend to buy more. Actually, there's science behind that with chocolates. I'm not a big chocolate guy because then I eat and it slows down people. So I don't like giving chocolate. dark.
Sure, and Barbie will have her on here later.
But those are like the basic things. And just really the focus around the guest, right? Like even this survey, like a lot of people digitalize this, but we do it on paper on purpose because people they always remember filling it in. So there's something like cool about like, oh, that was cool. They cared enough about me to fill in this survey. And then this survey has so much data, right? If you put sports teams, if your podcast is local and you love sports, well, you just put them in your CRM. Then every time, like when I lived in New York, of course, New York was big with the Yankees and Mets. Literally, we would just email a bunch of people like, hey, we're going to a Mets game, and take a bunch of people. Back then, like there was tickets for like $10 on StubHub at one point when the Mets were horrible. Right now, sports tickets have gone out of control, but you could build that community you're speaking about through something as simple as the survey. But then the littlest thing is like send the person a thank you card, right? Handwritten. It takes 1 minute and a 50-cent stamp, right? And we put that person's address on the survey. Most people don't get enough info from their guests. We get their cell phone, right? Every guest gets a text message from me and just says, thanks for joining us on the show last week. If you ever, want to be connected to any of the guests you see on our show, just reach out. Don't hesitate. And it just makes them feel comfortable. And I tell them like, hey, I'm a super connector in town. So just, feel free, and I want them to reach out. I generally do. Like if I get a text message like, hey, I saw you had Brendan on the show. Like, I'm like, awesome. You two should connect. He's in town through Saturday, right? I want that to occur. Right. Because then you're a center of influence, right? People look up to you but you got to execute. You can't be bullshitting people. You can't be like, yeah, we do this, but then you don't text them back and don't follow. Because too many people put these grand plans together, but then they don't execute. And often people try to do too much. Right. So I always say it's all about the system in place. If you have a system in place with checks and balances, it all properly works out. And when you're monetizing, it's the same way. If you're monetizing, you give people like, here are the packages. It's clean and cut, right? You're not giving them 14 different packages. I find the biggest mistake is there's too many words, right? Too much context. So people get overwhelmed. It has to be like In-N-Out Burger, right? The reason why In-N-Out Burger is so successful, same with Chick-fil-A, there's only so many options, right? But once you try to compete and be the Cheesecake Factory, like not everyone can be the Cheesecake Factory.
That's a fact.
And I have a gazillion, they did it, but 9 out of 10 times, people who try to be the Cheesecake Factory fail. There's too many options. Do you agree?
I definitely agree. I think you're right. Only Cheesecake Factory can have that menu with like 10 pages on it.
Yeah.
And you're looking forward to it.
And be creative. Like we did the interactive podcast at Podfest.
That was really dope. Yeah.
Like most people aren't thinking outside the box. Like people are going to all these events. They're so freaking boring after a while. It's like the same event, guest speakers, the same speakers going the same lineup everywhere. Everyone's trying to attack those speakers to get them on their show because they got millions of followers. It's like, how are you unique? Well, in our case, I'm like, wait a second. Why not do an interactive podcast with a speaker that's outbound? And then all of a sudden we're attracting people to our show, right? And also our app Owl, which we're about to do some owl calls and have some fun, but it's just be different and there's no cost. A lot of the things that we just discussed are free.
Yeah.
It's just taking time and really caring about your guests.
So 2 things I want to bring up real quick, right? So just to add something to the experience, one thing that I really, really got a memorable moment at, and I think that anyone can do this. When you have someone coming into your studio, or if they're coming in to do the podcast, have something that you can put their name on it.
Yep.
So this is a podcast I did in Providence. It's probably the biggest podcast in Providence. Shout out to Cap, my guy Sound. So when I came into a studio, he had a whiteboard. It says, Cap Podcast welcomes Brendan Boyd to the show.
That's awesome.
And it was like I forget what, I think it was like, I was like number 81 or something like that. I was like, damn, this is dope. Like, I didn't even meet the dude yet, but I walked in, it was like,
so it's the little things. It's like, how long does it take to write on a whiteboard?
So that made me feel really, really good. I remember that I took a picture of that, of course, right? Made video. Look, you know what I'm saying?
That's like our wall. We have people sign the wall at the end.
See, that's really dope. The other thing I was going to say is, everyone, if you're a podcaster, you need to also understand that you're a media business. So when you're a media business, another thing that's a cheat code as a podcaster, you can literally reach out to like comedy, let's say comedy spots in your city, sporting events, shows, events, and just say, hey, I have a podcast. I would like to come and cover your event.
Yeah.
That gives you another look.
I like that. That's no one thinks about that.
And actually puts you in a room with the mid-level and the high-level people.
And you really are.
That's what I'm saying. Everyone that has a podcast, you are a media business, whether you realize it or not. You're either going to take advantage of it or you ain't. But if you do and you position yourself as such, you can get into those spaces that most people won't just with this, in a camera or your phone.
So I love the name on the screen because it's so simple. TVs are nothing today. $100, $500. This 86-inch TV you get for $1,000. And I used to always do that in my financial service business. The client would come in, there'd be a folder, there'd be a blank piece of paper. It was all branded, and it was said at the top, "It's about you." Little touches. It's about you, but then their name was like, "Welcome, John Smith." And every client just immediately was like, "Wow, no one's done that for me."
That's what I'm saying.
And it worked. And honestly, sometimes you get lazy. I'll be blunt. Like we could put it up on the TV, but then we couldn't figure out like the Wi-Fi was messing around. So we got lazy. We stopped doing it. But it's a reminder, like you kind of get in the groove, but you got to go back to your roots sometimes to put that back because people absolutely love what you just said.
100%.
Do it all the time.
That will 100% work, especially if you have, what's the intention on back end? If you got a core product, high ticket product, if you want to build relationships with the guests, those small things will start to, program the result that's going to be happening soon.
Okay, so this part of the segment, we're looking on the OWL app and we're seeing who's available. And you don't see many podcasts do this, where you could call directly to experts and bring them into a show.
Let's do it.
They don't know it's coming. So we got Brielle. She happened to be on our podcast in the past. She's a LinkedIn creator and she just graduated college, has a big feed, like 20,000 connections on LinkedIn. And she's right in the zone that we're speaking about because like I could see her, she's a content creator, but she doesn't have a podcast. But I could see her completely like doing what you said, go on 50 shows in the next 12 months or one day having her own. And here she is.
Hi, Jason. How are you?
Hey, Brielle. How's everything going?
Pretty good. Just staying busy and keeping up to date on everything post-college. How about yourself?
Good. Well, if you're okay with it, you are live on the OWL Podcast with Brandon, our guest today. It is streaming live. Are you okay being recorded?
Hi, Brandon. Yes, of course. I'm more than happy to be.
What's up, Brielle?
Okay. Well, Brielle, tell Brandon a little bit about yourself in under 30 seconds, if you do not mind.
I just graduated college, and in the past few weeks, I officially created an LLC, and I really specialize focusing on communication and profile presence and optimization specifically on LinkedIn.
All right, awesome. That's dope. So, are you building a business with this brand new LLC? Like, what's your intention?
Yeah, for sure. So I focus on clients who really want to maximize building their presence, their profile, and their authority specifically on LinkedIn and everything that goes into that with messaging and storytelling and branding, graphics, all of these pieces that ultimately convert into paying customers, clients, and opportunities.
So today we're talking about how you could leverage podcasting. So, Brielle, have you thought about taking that same message that you just shared with us and going on like a podcast tour and just letting people know how they can get that more exposure and leverage LinkedIn so you can help them and you can get more clients?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually just got onto TikTok, and long term, I know some people have asked me if I have a podcast or if I plan to do that. And so my next step is definitely YouTube and a podcast. But what I would probably be more so talking about is how we can effectively communicate and build confidence, because I'd say that is at the core of everything we do, which is also something I'm very passionate about to help bridge generational gaps.
No, I think that's great. But I just want to make sure that you have clarity about what I said, because I think what you said is great, and you definitely should have your own show. But I'm talking about taking your current message and then going on other platforms and letting more people know about what you have going on, because that's easy, right? I have this strategy called the 52W. You could take 30 minutes a week, 30, 60 minutes a week, and go on different platforms and just share your message, share how important messaging is, communication is, leveraging LinkedIn, and just that alone. That'll get you at the minimum 50 to 52 different platforms by the end of the year that are all going to be learning about what you do without you having to do that much more.
Right. That's awesome. So I'm assuming that is what you specialize in and what you're passionate about.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm definitely passionate about helping people get their messaging out by, getting more exposure, which I think is extremely important. But you have a lot of value, and I think leveraging, you're already doing it on OWL. So it's just, we're going to use another digital platform with consistency, and that's going to easily help you, will help other people find out what you do and how you can help them.
Yeah, for sure. That's the beauty of social media, right? We get to help people and get to share some good messages.
Yes, sir.
Well, Brielle, thank you for joining us on the OWL Podcast today. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jason. And Brandon, it's wonderful to meet you. Take care.
Yeah, I'm going to hit you up on the app.
All right, amazing. I look forward to it.
All right, take care.
Later. So that is being an entrepreneur, running when you go into technical issues.
Running and gunning.
So the feed is not picking up on our Bluetooth. So that's why I was holding it up to the mic. But that is an example of like when you have podcast equipment, there's so much going on. This mic, this headset, that camera, and what do you got to do when you have a guest? Just
listen.
Put out fires.
You just got to do your thing. Like, how people, they have like perfectionism. Ain't nothing perfect.
Yeah.
You just got to have the intention. You're going to make it work. It's going to do what it's going to do. And I planned on being here, but I didn't know if I was going to make it per se or what that looked like. Right. So you never know. You're like, I need to make this first before I put it out. Nah, it's like my intent is to get to the show. I've never been to the building. I don't know who's picking me up, but I got faith that I'm going to get there. And then what happened? I'm here. And we're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we need to operate. Whatever comes to your mind, whatever you want to put out into the marketplace.
You got to ask. It goes back to that first thing that you said earlier.
Got to ask.
And then at that point, things occur. And it's very similar to OWL, right? The people who step up to plate and just call people instead of waiting back and saying, oh, your app is okay. I only got like one call yesterday and I didn't love the call. I was like, well, go on offense.
I didn't love the call.
You see Brielle sitting there for $3. She's
Yeah.
got 20,000 connections.
Call me.
Right.
Yeah.
You could literally see she's going to have amazing growth in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Right. And you could get in touch with her and build a relationship for $3 for 10 minutes.
100%.
And it's that easy. But too often people want to be on the other side. They want everything to come to them. Right. Because they see on social media, everyone doing posts and going viral. And they think, oh, well, they could do it. I just want to post and let the people who want my services come to me. And I'm against that. I'm a go-getter. I'm the one typically reaching out, even in your case. Yeah. I think, hey, when are you going to be in Florida next? I'm like, come on our show. Yep. Right.
100%.
And Ellie's the same way. Like she just leaves voice note after voice note, goes to event after event, but she's always asking. Right. And without asking, there are no results.
100%.
And one day, if it turns the corner where, it starts going like 50-50, 50% you're asking, 50% are incoming. And one day you might get to the point, very few are, that it's all incoming. Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's not just about asking, but also like making sure that you're conscious in your ask. Like we talked about this before, like, oh, I've listened to your content. I saw this specific so-and-so. I really enjoyed it. Like giving, actually showing them, not just like, will you do me this favor, but like giving them a compliment, showing them that you actually are really interested in what they do.
Yeah, bring
first,
bring people value.
Yeah.
Bring people value. I think that's extremely important. Like there's podcasters out there or content creators out there that I've never met, but I've already put money in their pocket. Because it's like, hey, listen, you're amazing at what you got going on. I have someone I think it would be fired to come on your show or just build this relationship. Sometimes it's not always about money, but sometimes it is, right? So it's like they may have a fee. They want to get on a platform. I put money in this person's pocket. Sure. Now him and I have her, we got a relationship. And that might happen before before we even meet.
Yeah.
But now you have that relationship. So in the future, when y'all do meet, it's like, hey man, what's going on? I really appreciate that. Listen, it's like I know you, right? Because you've been building that over the past couple of months.
And I'm going to use a real example. I'm going to open up my feed. The audience isn't going to see this, but we could talk a little bit about it. But here's Brielle, right? She came on the podcast. You could see December 4th was my message that I talked about earlier, right? And said, hey, reach out whenever, right? Then she reached back, but ready, Podfest Expo. And I literally invited her to co-host the interactive podcast there. I said, here, your name will go on a flyer like this, right? Then she responds, she couldn't make it. But then we had Jason Waller in the studio and he had an event. I said, hey, this looks like an event that you probably want to join us, right? So I'm always giving. Yeah, I'm never asking. And I think too often everyone's like, they have a guest on and then it's like, ask. And we have someone that we know quite well. It's just always asking. And it's like, when are you going to just show up one day for lunch and be like, hey, got you guys some sandwiches? So like, it'd be as simple as that. But like, you could see, like, I'm drowning her. Like, hey, here's Libby, right? She's the CEO of Grant Watch. You should reach out. She's live on the platform. Right, a great individual that lives in town.
Yeah, you're ingratiating yourself.
You're providing hella value after message,
Yeah.
And it's just like I'm providing value. And then I see her live on the OWL app. I'm like, let me call her into the show.
100%.
Right, but it creates a two-way street because if I start the message, right, and I'm giving, and there's no response, like, oh, he's annoying, right? It's over. You're outside my circle because I've given you 2 chances.
Yeah,
and you don't see me as a giver, so it's like, nope, that door's closed. I have a lot of people, as you know. You could do what I'm doing and be a giver.
No, thank you.
Still, out of 100 text messages that go out, there's only going to be about 20% of the people who then receive that as a compliment. And
that's a fact.
Thank you. You could literally be like, I can't tell you how many times I'd be like, here's Celsius. And they're like, no, I'm good. Or like, as an example, like I'm giving them something and they don't say the words, thank you.
Yeah.
And Ellie's seen it. How many times has Ellie send a thank you card or a gift. And we're like, how did they get a gift and not say the words thank you? It's amazing, right?
You know why? Because people are too busy, bro.
Yeah,
They're too busy.
But when you open it, just do it in the moment. Open it. Let me just send a quick, it takes 2 seconds thing.
It might even be funny if you send a gift and you have your little message and be like, oh, listen, by the way, take a second to say thank you. Who, like almost like a joke. You know what I'm saying? Like that, that's even funny right there. But
I don't know about
people are too busy now.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I love working with busy people. Busy people text you back quicker.
Yeah.
And they get you done quicker. They take your time more serious. So I look for the busiest people.
I saw this post recently. I forget who it was. It's somebody you probably
I think I saw it. It was on TikTok. I just saw one.
And it was like people that make the most money or people that are the most successful, they respond quick. It's not none of this.
I saw that. I literally have that TikTok.
It's not none of this. I think it was with Drake. I think Drake was the visual, but it wasn't his voice. But it wasn't that BS where it's like, 48-hour, 4-day response.
Yeah.
It's like you can't move the needle. You know how much happened during that time? It's like, Jason, what's going on? Can we link? Okay, cool. Here's the date. Boom. Can I make it? Yes. Can you make it? All right, cool. I'll see you in a couple weeks.
And on the flip side,
You know what I'm saying?
don't just, if you do want something, don't just reach out once and be like, oh, they didn't care. They didn't respond.
That's a fact.
So many times I'm like, I feel like I used to do that. And I'd be like, oh, they're too important to want to talk to me. They didn't respond once. No, they probably looked at it. They did get busy. They forgot. So then just send them a follow-up or 2 follow-ups.
Especially if you send it like a Friday, like business starts on a Monday and then they forgot by Friday.
Yeah. You don't, because you never know where people are when you send a message. They could be taking their son or daughter out the car.
Yeah. And then they saw and they forgot. Yeah. So that's important too.
Sure is. Okay. Final part of the show, Ellie. Tell them the rules.
All right. So we have a bet.
I object. I object to these rules.
Well, unfortunately, we can't air your episode if you object.
Let's go.
So basically, we challenge you. I guess we could call it a challenge, not a
Okay.
The
bet.
Owl Challenge.
Essentially, we ask you to do something, which
up?
is going to be using our platform. So
Okay.
we'll ask you to either, let's see, do we want them to make calls or take calls?
We were just at Podfest Expo. So this is the bet because you run a podcasting service.
Yeah.
I would like you in the next 10 days. We'll give them a little time
Okay.
because it's on vacation through Saturday.
This ain't no vacation.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's a
okay,
work.
you
it's
said
a
it.
workcation.
Not a vacation.
Okay, we'll pull it down to 7.
All
We'll
right,
tell
cool.
it down to 7. Okay. We have hundreds of podcasters in our app, and you know that,
Yeah.
right? And often folks like Brielle, you just call $3, $1, $10, right? My answer to you would be in the next 7 days, I want to see you get booked on 3 other podcast shows.
From the app.
Yeah.
From
So you're going to
Owl.
benefit,
Okay.
but most people don't because they don't make that outbound call. You're a
Yeah, yeah.
go-getter.
I
So
would do it right now if my
I-
phone wasn't recording.
So I want to see you by the 7 days from now.
Yeah.
You email us. I got on these 3 podcasts.
Mhm.
And then if you do get on those 3 podcasts, what would you like? You win the bet. So what would you like from us? You're moving to Florida June 1st.
Yeah,
You're not going to have a studio then, right?
Yeah.
We'll give you our studio for, I don't know, 3 episodes, 4 episodes.
That's
You want
cool.
fr-
I would
you
do
know,
that.
a free couple
all right.
episodes to shoot. You put your image on the TV.
Yeah.
And again, I'm just saying that's maybe what you want.
Yeah. I'll take that and dinner.
And dinner. I like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And dinner.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So you get that and dinner.
Yep. That works.
Okay. So that's a deal. Now, if you lose, Ellie, he put dinner in there.
I don't
You
know.
gotta-
He has a big
These
following.
are nice sunglasses. They have
Like-
cameras in them. Maybe a pair of these.
Yeah.
What do we,
These
How
what does he
about
gotta
he
do?
gets us on like a big podcast? But I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I like this.
Like it has to be like a podcast with like a big amount of listeners.
I'd like to win. I'm going to be in Vegas on April 15th. Can you get? That's a pay to play move, though.
Yeah.
But a local
I
podcast.
keep bumping into.
How about a
the
local
microphone.
podcast? Because we could travel.
Yep.
You get
Yeah,
Ellie
yeah.
and I on a local show.
That has like a
That-
big
that
following.
is legit because obviously
Okay,
you know
yeah.
we could get on a lot of shows ourselves directly, but one that's
One that's a
could
little
see
harder
that.
to get on. So you maybe
one
need
on
to
your favorite list that you're
Okay.
like
Yeah.
they would really get a lot of value from joining that show.
All right. That sounds good.
Deal.
It's a bet.
Yeah.
The bet is
Deal.
on.
Woohoo.
So if you run a podcast out there, go live on Owl,
And
he'll call you.
just so you know, and so everyone knows, like it's so easy. You literally go to categories and you go to podcasters,
I
and
know.
it shows you a list of all the podcasters. So it's really, really, really simple.
Actually, it's on the home screen right now. So right on the home
Okay.
screen, the category is listed podcasters because
We're streaming right now too, right?
oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna call somebody today.
So
Ooh.
if you're out there, DM him and say, hey, I'm going to go
Call
live
someone
on
the
Owl. at a
ride
specific
back
time.
to Miami.
Request him to go
Back.
live.
In the
Like
car.
we said, he has to call them, but you guys can call him, right? And then be like, hey, I heard you on the Owl podcast. Would you like to come on my show? Because that technically counts.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
Yeah,
counts.
that
Yeah.
counts.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right.
Well, that wraps up today's episode.
Can I give something away?
Yeah, go ahead. Do
Give
you?
something away? I listen. I have a free. I want to do 2 things. So I got a free podcast program. It will teach you how to monetize using what I call the pod close. You can go to 100kpodcastprogram.com, and then also I have a free training. Also teach you how to monetize. You can just comment text the word podcast to 213-410-4920. So 100kpodcast.com, 100kpodcast program.com, or text podcast to 213-410-4920 and get the free training.
Awesome.
Whew.
We got to get Ellie in that free training. I like this. We could all get some extra tips
Yeah.
on our show how to monetize, because at the end of the day, we don't know everything, right? That's the
Yeah.
whole point of the Owl app. Call people, gain knowledge, and there's so many different ways to lead you to success. There's no one route.
Yeah.
You do your podcast your way, I do it my way,
Yep.
and we all learn from one another. So I love those tips at the end of the show. So take care, everyone. We'll be back next Wednesday, right around 1 p.m. Actually, 5 p.m. next week.
Peace.